kind of media do consumers think is most engaging? Basic visuals, interactive experiences, or conversational technology? A new study has the answer. Stick around to find out. Welcome to Marketing is Broken, the weekly series where we help marketers stay aware of the most engaging ways to reach your consumers, no matter how creepy it might be.
John Anderson provides gourmet cuisine.
John Anderson, you could use a Guinness right about now.
Any day now, and we'll be able to do that. The majority of consumers still prefer good old-fashioned videos and imagery to some of the newer forms of engagement on the web. According to a new study by digital asset management platform Binder, when asked about the type of content consumers find to be most impactful, this is what they said. 59% of respondents said imagery and video was still the most impactful type of engagement. About 17% said that they prefer interactive technologies like augmented or virtual reality. 12% of people said they preferred conversational technologies like chatbots and forums. And finally, 10% of people said they liked long-form articles or blog posts. While the internet has been trending away from primarily text-based content in lieu of more images and video for years, it's hard to say how much interactive and conversational experiences will end up impacting the content mix. When it comes to where content makes its impact, 28% said blogs and articles, 23% said social media, and only 17% said online advertising. It's almost like consumers are trying to tell us to create more branded content and less ads if we want to make an impact. Less ads. That's just crazy talk. We wanted to know more about how to create an impact with consumers using imagery and other types of media, so we reached out to Mark Johnston, a data visualization expert and creative content consultant, to ask him a few questions about imagery, media, and building a brand. You spent years studying data visualization and telling stories through imagery. Why do you think consumers find it to be the most engaging type of content?
I think I'll kind of caveat this a little. I know you've kind of looked at, there's the stats from this study recently. I don't know if I'd be as bold to say it's definitively the most engaging type of content, but why do I think it's engaging? So in the data viz community, we talk a lot about the amount of data and information you can take in through your eyes as opposed to trying to process it all cognitively. You know, there's that famous stat about we can consume or process 6 ± 2 chunks of information cognitively. That's a pretty low bandwidth compared to what we can take in through our eyes if you look at the volume of data and information. Visuals are just a very powerful way of us taking in a lot of data points and zooming in on what we think are the important things. If you were to think of an analytics graph showing your company's some form of your company's website performance over the last year, maybe comparing to the year before, you would see gaps, you would see bits where it was close, you would see where it was growing, where it was going down, where it was spiking, troughs, all kinds of things would jump out at you. Whereas if I was to tell you all of the numbers, last April we were at this, and then this October we were at this, but the previous October we were at this, you'd very quickly lose track. So we're just much more able to take in a lot of information and then zoom in on the things that jump out at us, spot patterns, and then take it from there.
Sure. On that note, so interactive experiences, AR and VR are on the rise. How important will visuals be to these new experiences?
Yeah, well, obviously VR and AR are predominantly visual. I think they're very interesting fields. I instantly see a lot more application for AR than I do VR, but I guess you've kind of got to think about them. By definition, AR is kind of overlaying a kind of computer user interface with the reality that we're facing, whereas virtual reality kind of creates an entire simulation. And so they kind of lend themselves to very different applications. I've been working a bit with an engineering firm who are kind of behind the technology, sort of some of the future technologies. And so, in the automotive space, there's a lot of investment going into the kind of idea of an augmented reality windscreen dashboard where it can, if you think about the it's still a bit of a challenge referring down to your, the map on your phone, looking back up to the screen. I mean, there's some pretty significant safety implications of that. But also, so I think anywhere where you are still having to refer to a screen, refer back to your reality, those things will just be able to merge. So if you're using Google Maps, not even in your car, if you're just walking down the street, if you want to look up reviews, if you want directions, you've already got that amazing thing Google can do where you hold it up over signs and it will translate, the signs in front of you if you're in a foreign country. So, anywhere where you're currently using, you're going back and forth between your phone, that can now be overlaid. I think the additional value that could bring is huge. I could see, a lot of applications in terms of, any sort of live experiences, tours, lots of travel stuff could do really well with that. Maybe interactive exhibits in museums. I know a lot of museums are investing a lot in their kind of digital transformation. And I could see if you were galleries, like how do they make art modern and relevant and exciting for young people, perhaps like augmented reality where you can point out parts of the painting, explain them. That would be quite, quite powerful and impactful. Virtual reality is kind of, I guess it's more for simulating experiences couldn't otherwise experience it. So I know, there's people investing in doing this for like live safety training and like fire training and things like that, so you can give a much more realistic impression of what would be happening and what you would have to do if you're involved in that world. Not so much for firemen. Like, I mean, they obviously need to practice in the real world, but maybe early stages of the training, or maybe for office safety, where we're not going to go and train in live simulated fire environments, but maybe we get a more realistic impression of knowing what you need to do in those kind of situations.
Sounds like there's limitless potential there. So the last question here, chatbots, is there limitless potential there too, or are they more of a passing trend, or do they have niche appeal, or what do you think of them?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what creative applications people can come up with. Initially I thought they were kind of weird, and I was like, nah, people will not use them. I felt the same about voice search, but then I felt the same about Facebook. I was ardently a fan of MySpace. I thought Facebook would never catch on, so I obviously didn't know much there. The chatbots, I changed my opinion after my first good experience of one. I was interacting with one via Facebook. It was with a ticketing company that was asking me about shows that I might be interested in going to see, and I actually found it really good. It kind of picked up on my taste quite quickly. The experience was swift, possibly a bit quicker than browsing the website. And it's less, they're less reliant on you going and doing it. They can bring it to you. So yeah, I think they're useful. I see a lot of use in terms of early sales, or in low ticket value sales, or customer support. I think one of the things that kind of changed it for me as well was I thought they were kind of meant to be sort of used in a way that you don't realize you're interacting with a chatbot. But I don't think that's true. I think when you do realize it, then you're quite happy doing it. You see there was that thing where, this was more AI, but Google phoned up a hairdresser and booked an appointment, but the hairdresser didn't know she was speaking to AI. Sure. I didn't like that sort of idea of like duping people. I think it's actually stronger when you know what the deal is, then there's no chance of this kind of moment where like, hey, what's going on here? This is strange. And as long as it's efficient and gets your problem resolved, I'd rather do that than wait in line to speak to someone. Sometimes you don't really want to speak to someone, you just want to get the answer. And if they can do that quickly for you, then I think they're really powerful.
Mark Johnson, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, thank you.
What's your content mix look like? Do you invest heavily in imagery or video? Or do you focus more on pioneering new technologies like VR or chatbots? And what's the perfect mix needed to make the biggest impact with consumers? The first person who says, "It depends," in the comments might just win yourself some new Brandish Insights gear. We'll see you next time. Hey, it's Josh from Brandish Insights. Thank you for watching Marketing is Broken. If you like this week's episode, please click below to subscribe or check out other episodes. And if your company could use more insights around your branding efforts, check out brandishinsights.com.